At the zone, pull right by their drop spot, so they're able to double ramp all the way up. Marius still solo clutching it. Teeny now lost a bit of HP as Sky Scroll are going to play full low here.
The main thing is Medius has enough materials to actually make it across to where the zone is pulling for that elevation point on that cliff face. No one has seemingly spotted out this solo just yet. The mid layers hasn't been forced down by height, setting up for the Creators, trying to make his way forward now, just trying to make sure that he's staying on pace with front side of zone. Ju and Cantry also trying to make sure that they can prevent anybody from challenging them just yet, but it is a big commitment very early on in Malabuka, Sky Squirrel, so many strong contenders looking to try and make their way up, and Marius has fallen, but he at least was able to collect 2 eliminations along the way. Still some points to add on. Teeny Shark though, a lot of work cut out for them. The moment they look back, they see players hawking them down.
Caught off guard, they're put into a bit of panic here. They're gonna have to look for a refresh, but if any team is capable of playing aggressive and picking it up, it is gonna be Shark and Teeny. Vico Malabuka, on the other hand, showing their experience as well as Chino. Pablo, was that a high ground retake to potentially? Ju now dropped to just a sliver of HP, and the knock comes through from Chino.
We've got our first takeover in terms of the high ground debate, but Pablo, Chino, definitely a little bit hurt right now. Only 2 builds right now for Pablo. Glove Sheet cracks. They're going to look to strike now. It's going to be a force down. Chino immediately dropping layers, trying to see if he can reconnect with his duo. Pablo. Connie, they go for height now. They've sent it. Start things off, but Frankie, what do you guys got to say?
So many incredible solo names in the lobby there, but it took 2 to get it done, Mini Miner.
Yeah, really, really nicely done from those guys. The way they took height there, perfect timing on that. They saw Cammy was a solo up there on height, perfect opportunity for them to take it, and then riding out the end game. I've been a big Volko sort of stan, I suppose, over the years. Yeah, I knew you knew that was what I was going to say, but yeah, I've sort of been excited to see his rise. Didn't really happen for him in trios last year. Was looking good in duos. Hasn't really seen too much from him. Hopefully, this is a sign of more to come.
Definitely. It will be interesting to see if these guys can sustain in the lobby, because actually we had a number of players definitely putting their best foot forward there. Some players who sometimes take a few more games to get into it. But for Cringe and Volko, I think top 20 is definitely a certainty for these guys, Levin, even though it's only game 1. Cringe and Velco took the first game of the FNCS Europe Major 1 finals, but we've still got 11 more to go. And consistency is king if you want to make the top 20 and the Major 1 Summit in Düsseldorf. 11, it was an impressive performance by a number of big-name duos. If you look at the end game, we had so many solos, including Scroll of Sky and Scroll. And you wouldn't want to count him out, to be fair, in a 2v1, even if he couldn't pull it off this time.
Yeah, not at all. I think the biggest thing for these guys when it comes to that game was we were all wondering, were they going to be landed on in that first game after Josh Bot marked it sort of a couple hours before Grands? And it was a false flag. Nothing happened. They were uncontested, right? So they got to play their game out. And Mini, as expected, when they do get to play their game out, they're going to make it to endgame. So we're going to see Scroll in that position more times this weekend, I can assure you that.
Yeah, back on the prediction now for them to win the FNCS. Right, that was always a bit of a shaky moment for everyone to predict them, and I'm sure for them as well. But that's going to settle them now, I think. You know, realistically for them, of course, that would have been in the back of their mind looking at the drop map. Are we going to be contested? Are we not going to be? Hopefully, it wouldn't have thrown them off too much. And clearly, based on this first game, it seems like it hasn't done. They play exactly how we expect them to play, very hip to hip, not taking any risky peeks. They played exactly how we expected them to in terms of the tarps as well. Sky going forward and Scroll fragging out. So really nice solo clutch here from Scroll. Of course, couldn't quite get the win with a top 3 right there, but still a very, very solid performance from them. And it's a really nice start because we expect lots from them. If this is a team that we thought, yeah, maybe they're contested, they like to make 1 or 2 end games, you think, okay, but this is not going to continue. For them, expect more of the same.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but did Pablo and Chino play it a bit too safe, Miniminer? Because they both made it to the end game, but they're sitting in 9th right now, only 3 eliminations.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, it was nice to see them in the end game, of course. We spoke about them at the beginning of the day as maybe a team to watch out for, maybe not necessarily going to have that consistency. We haven't seen it from them so far in their performances this season, but this is a real nice sign of hopefully for what's to come for them, Levin. We spoke about it as well. The talent that's on display, the solo clutch potential. We saw Pablo need to solo clutch a little bit here. Hopefully they can continue to do this.
Yeah, I think the big thing for these guys was obviously they went to play for high, right? That was what they saw as their win condition. And it just got a bit too messy for them, right? They sort of ran out of steam. As the games go on, I'm curious to see, again, how heavily do they choose to play for high? I think we know that if they go up for it, they're going to be a threat. I also think a lot of people watching these guys will go, if you guys just keep playing mid-game, you're probably going to frag out and be able to sort of keep yourself pushing until top 5s that way as well. So I'm interested to see sort of what are these guys feeling is their route to victory in most of these end games over the next 11 games.
You know what I really enjoyed? I loved seeing stress-free surge for Vico and Malabuka 11. It was just lovely to watch.
Yeah, Vico Malabuka, again, a strong first game from a big name that has a lot of expectations. I'm interested to see how much more this continues. Of course, we've seen, Malabuka in the past have really incredible day ones in FNCS finals. And, this one was a fine sort of showing for them, again, showcasing some of their best ability. When these two are on mid-ground layers like this and they have to fight teams, there's just, not many people scarier in all of Fortnite, right? Malabuka has been, the boogeyman of mid-ground for years in EU, and Vico, one of the best to ever do it. So these guys, if we see them in more of these positions, Frankie, yeah, I'm going to feel great about them, being a team sort of near the top by the end of the game as well.
And we spoke about it at the beginning of the day as well. These guys are very risk-taking. They maybe make some mistakes, but I think that's going to play into their benefit and into their favor here in the major finals. Some of those teams that are maybe newer that we expect to do well, maybe they'll hold back a little bit. They wouldn't make those same plays they're going to make in those heats, whereas for these guys, they've been here, they've done that. They know what they can do. They know how they can maybe make some of those plays work, and maybe they go a little bit too far sometimes, but at least they have the confidence to take those risks.
Let's take a look at the leaderboard again if we can. I'm curious to see where Cammy, I should say, managed to clutch himself to. I nearly called him Clutchy then, because this was fantastic from him. I don't know if he's the person we expected to see in those final moments there, but it was an impressive showing, Levin.
Why are we, look, this is what I was talking about. Why are we doubting Cammy? This is, Cammy we're talking about. Mr. Kaminsky does not disappoint when it comes to grand finals. And I think even when you look back at, previous FNCSs and duos for him, with how legendary his career has been, one of the funny things is he actually has never won an FNCS duo competition, right? When he won an FNCS, it was trios, but he's had some of the better individual duos performances in the history of this game. I think back to, chapter 5 it was, right? Season 2, where he just absolutely flew, was arguably the MVP of that grand. And if he keeps playing like how he did in game 1, he might have another tournament where we're walking away saying he's the MVP. So a really great start from Cammy.
Is it because we don't necessarily think of Cammy as a clutch? We always think of him as one of a pair mini miner.
Yeah, potentially. I think, he's one of those players that maybe isn't the most flashy in terms of mechanically, but he's got the brains, he's got that ability, he's got that experience now as well. And even in that particular endgame, I think things could have ended a little bit better for him if that Harpoon managed to get some of those materials. He was up on height as a solo, but ultimately ran out of steam. You saw him there with a Harpoon trying to look into the storm to grab those materials slightly too far away. So I'm just thinking maybe that refresh, if that had a couple of 100 mats on there, maybe we'd be talking about a Cammy solo clutch win here in game number 1 if things were slightly different.
We also saw Shark trying to clutch for the win mini.
Yes, we did. And, it's nice to see these guys, of course, making it to endgame. I think a lot of the conversation 11 would have been about these guys off-spawn situation. Looked as though they did go for that fight a little bit earlier on. Things then fizzled out a little bit, and we even saw Dharma Dimash in the area as well. But in endgame, this is exactly what we expect from them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this game should be the answer to why a lot of people, even with them being contested, are still so incredibly high on their chances to, walk away with a top 5 today. Because when they do get to play our games, this is what they showcase, right? They make it deep, and they're gonna get a limbs, right? 9 limbs there, not too shabby.
All right then, are you ready for some more, boys?
Always.
Always,
Hey,
a bit more
Jinx.
enthusiastic, please. I bet chat is loving it right now. You too, I think you're a bit subdued, but it is only game number 2, so let's head back to Taco and Takata.
Thank you. We're also excited here in the casting booth. Taco, kicking things off, it is getting interesting. Sharktini, it's reminding me not when the 6-0 happened, but in the most recent Div Cups where they took some fights in Wonky. Sometimes it went their way, sometimes it didn't, but in the end games, it was Shark and Teeny that were performing. Sky Scroll in the most recent match, there was a moment they were looking incredibly healthy on low. They did not want anything to do with the high ground, but they ended up in top 3. A lot of big names performing.
Always appreciate a good old-fashioned cringe off. It's kind of hilarious to me that if you cringe in Volko and then obviously the other component of cringe and Twy competing for those last couple of slots. But now we've got a whole new lobby ahead of us, so let's get into game 2.
We'll see if the off spawn goes any differently here. I mean, Levin mentioned it earlier as well. We have seen historically teams perform well while conned. Queasy, Swizzy, Mustache getting 4th. It is possible, but it's definitely much more difficult.
And for Panzer Yapko over by Painted Palms, they know that they've got their work cut out for them. They are going to be directly contested by Lunix and Wolvax, who haven't had a chance to strike just yet. Both teams going to be able to get themselves into decent positions, I would anticipate, for the fight. But we'll have to check back in and see how it actually pans out over there. Swizzy, on the other hand, no Pixie in sight. Dark Dominion proving to be a little bit more problematic. And this has kind of been a reoccurring theme with this mid-map position. A lot of people would think Swizzy, Pixie, uncontested most of the time when they're marked, but it feels like there's always someone that decides to spoil the fun here. And Swizzy, he's just trying to survive. He'll opt to try and take the tunnel getaway, but that's just going to leave Truly and Gonzo now in full control of Dark Dominion.
The worst part is when this happens and you get that surprise con, if you end up losing that first match with the surprise con. Quick, nice elims from Noah, though. Shout out Noah Reason, the back-to-back early game.
Okay, 2-0. You like to see it.
It's what you love to see. The OG's back in business. Going back to Dark Dominion, though, like what I was saying is when you have someone surprise con, if it doesn't go well from them in the first matches, it's likely they might go away. But when they win the first match, they win the second off spawn, it's not looking great for Swizzy and Pixie.
And just look at like the cascading effect it's had too, right? You're seeing other teams now choosing to kind of stroll on over. Hey, Dark Dominion, no Swizzy, no Pixie. Pixie having some issues there. So, hey, why not throw our names into the hat too? So, it's not all clearly cut out for Truly and Gonzo, but at the very least, teams elsewhere always just trying to be very on top of maintaining their surge damage. Swizzy now with a look opportunity here, tries to take out Moneymaker by himself, and he is successful. This is why Swizzy is so highly regarded on EU. He has just put himself into an excellent recovery position now and left F9 to the Wolves.
Our only global champion, reigning global champion, making it to the finals this season. You can see the axe there and everything. So hopefully Swizzy can clutch it up, but coming back in major final lobbies is a whole other ball game. Marius had a good clutch in the last match, but hopefully this time around it can be a full duo playing it out. He's currently 16th with 30 points, so wasn't great, but you know, good enough to hold on. You know, I had Levin earlier talking kind of about estimates, especially for the top 20. It was 5 end games, being a good end game, which is top 5 with 4 Elins on average, or 250 to 300 points after these days conclude. So, I mean, so far, decent start.
But they've got to be very careful because Media's iDrop likely have no idea that Yapko Panzer are guarding that rare chest, waiting for the perfect jump scare setup for whoever might be first to stroll into that building. Wouldn't be surprised to see us revisit Latte Landing very shortly. Battlewood Boulevard, Sky Scroll. It was originally believed that they were possibly going to be contested at the start, but it doesn't appear as though Nero and Joshua have really been able to actually work their way into this position. Sky Scroll, they're just gonna opt for a good old-fashioned Surge Tower. But when you go this high up, Takata, other teams in the area, it is going to naturally alter the flow of the lobby.
That it is, and some of the duos that might have had surge problems in the last match might be playing a little bit more active this time around. Arco Kire opting for the surge base. Either drop here. Will they actually be able to find connections? Issue is with these 2-day tournaments is, especially after the end of day 1, your opponents kind of learn a lot of your habits and will try and mitigate those tag opportunities for you, or even loot opportunities. Marius iDrop though, looks like they want to get a bit aggressive.
It's not only that, I think iDrop was unfortunately on the receiving end, considering how low his HP just was. And the fact that they had to expend one of their Flowberry Mist Grenades just to bring him back up to a healthy contention point. But Medius, iDrop, job's not done. Yapko Panzer on the ropes right now. Panzer incredibly low. Don't know if he's got any white heals to be able to sort himself out, and sure enough, will begin to recuperate some of his HP, but now, without having found a clean knock or elimination there, hopefully they were able to build some surge, but the way that net surge counts up, Takata, wouldn't be surprised if it ended up ultimately kind of working against them, because that's a big time to invest and not really net a huge elimination there.
That it is. In terms of Cringe and Volko here, this drop spot is surrounded by quite a lot of contested duos, so building up extra high, hopefully they can find some options.
Ari and Cammy now on their rotate through Dark Dominion. You can already see a lot of these pre-existing builds, and they are fully aware of the fact that Nagi's got himself kind of sorted up in a bit of a Surge Tower off the side of the building, but whether or not they actually choose to challenge it, we'll have to wait and see. Sky taking some shots over by Cringe. But they've got to sort what's going on directly underneath them. Seems like Yarko and Kire want to try and take out Twy and Cringe early on. They are forcing this fight. They are not allowing Twy and Cringe a whole lot of wiggle room here, and it doesn't help knowing that there's third parties kind of witnessing, hey, if these guys are building up in wood right now, they've got to be a little bit worse for wear, and that's certainly the case for Twy right now. Doesn't have a whole lot of material left to work with. So whether or not they wanted this fight, they're going to need to find a conclusion to it if they want to keep packing through this big game.
Going back over closer to Wonky, Darn Dimish now. I'm wondering if Fishy's a solo here. It's looking like he is. And in the 2v1, Fishy will go down. They are looking rough in these early games. It seems that they keep trying to fight a little bit, losing HP, losing shield, kind of Shark Teeny scaring them away from Wonky Land, and them just being put into shambles and it quite not going their way.
But the fact that Shark has one elimination, that tells me that there's a reason why Fishy was sent packing way west of the map towards Treetop Timber Mill. And for Darm Demonish, they'll be more than happy with that elimination. I mean, always have to bear in mind 4 points each, but cringe.
What a tower.
Talk about a box up. This is certainly a sight to witness. Truly Gonzo in a separate little tower, but it is pales in comparison for sure.
It's funny because there's mountains by Cringe, and the teams based up on the mountains still aren't as high as Cringe is here.
Brother is cranking 90s, that's for sure, but Volko might need to be cautious. Seems like he might be having a maybe recognize the fact that there's Malibuca Vico in the area. Kind of exploring the tunnels for right now. Chat Flixie, on the other hand, dealing with Skyjump and Momsy. They do have splashes, they do have pizza, and they've also got the elevation hold. But it's obvious they're trying to conserve some of the materials here, Takata. Good reason. Panzer Yapko, though, after Latte landing, went a little bit south for them. They've been forced to try and find that surge elsewhere. And Lunex seems to be their priority target. Wolvex having already been sorted out. 2 eliminations now. That's going to put Panzer and Yapko right back. Exactly where they need to be able to play out inside the storm for a little bit more of that dead side.
Nebs and Nathan actually started off quite strong. 6th place, 3 eliminations. Going well so far. Now if they can just keep it up is the question. Good news for them, they're not contested and the zone has been in their favor. First match it did go kind of more southeast. This is why players like Chap and Flixie had a bit of a struggle getting there. Speak of struggle, Minori
and Darkos kind of just reviewing whether or not they're going to be able to actually take this immediate fight. They know fully aware that there is another team kind of surrounding their area over in Builder's Barracks, but they still want to take a little bit of a calmer approach. They know that they've got the positional advantage against Andipuzo and Werix. And I like the intentions from Minori. It looks like he's going for an absolute lurk approach. Might be able to catch them off guard from a separate angle if he manages to stay tucked away fully on that crouch approach, but we'll have to wait and see whether or not that actually nets them a nice couple of eliminations. Focus Thomas, though, one more time here at Sus Studios, and it is evident from their loadouts that they were successful yet again finding that mythic Iron Pump.
Very extended Puzo though. And a bit of a pickle here. Minori Darkos 118 below. They need these tags. Darkos has been fully cracked though. It's basically all up to Minori, and there's even a third party with Moneymaker for 9, and there's even a fourth party as Moneymaker gets shot as well. Not only is it going to be difficult to finish up this fight, but getting to zone is going to be incredibly tough here.
But Minori, he's at least got to try and force the issue here. He doesn't have a whole lot of options. When you are this far below Surge, it's almost like ramming your head into the wall, essentially, but he's got to try and net something. F9 and Moneymaker on the other end of the spectrum, though, they've already got everything that they need. 564 above that Surge threshold. They don't have to force any sort of engagement here. They could choose to wait things out. Wedix will at least take advantage of the pizza slices that he does have nearby, but look at Minori. Just 2 separate solos trying to figure out whether or not they can survive this healthy third-party duo interrupting what they had going on here. But Minori, he's got the world against him. He's got Surge ticking away at him. He's got behind him Moneymaker just continuously assaulting him. And they're not willing to let this one go. They're even gonna take over his pizza box.
Wow. That's the final
straw that
step.
broke the camel's
The
back.
final straw, yeah, literally. How dare you steal a pizza? Werex having his own pizza party in the back, letting everybody fight each other. Cringe Twy started off incredibly strong today. Top of the leaderboard in third place right now, 76 points, but they've quickly been put into panic. 441 below. And you can see, despite them not getting tagged by Surge, things can change in literally one match for the top teams.
It's also just so evident of how much of a disruption it can be when you are forced into an early engagement that you were not anticipating. Cringe and Twy just got too locked up. They had to spend too much time to play recovery. And I'm sorry, Twy, but 10 bandages is just not going to cut it. Working your way into that next edge of zone, not when you are 428 below the Surge threshold. That is the main contributing factor to his downfall right now. But like that, he's still just trying to withhold that trooper mentality, keep marching forward. It's the least he can do. Feel like it's only delaying the inevitable now, though.
On the right side, though, Sharktini, they were below and quickly played aggressive to put themselves just 45 above edge of zone. So they do have a ways to go. Twy, as you can see, has
He's so cooked.
much greater ways to go. Oh, be careful, though. Maybe some quick luck of the draw here. Oh.
We are in a
That's
five
it?
tick Takata.
No,
He's
it's
so
over.
for
Yeah, I don't know.
real.
I don't know.
Five
I don't know what I'm hoping
no
for
one he
here.
can shoot at. There is no possible way of survival. Okay, but I definitely respect the effort, the hustle mentality. Just keep marching forward. Sky Scroll, though, drew a little bit more attention on what they would have been hoping for. They're gonna choose to just kind of bunker up on the low ground, though. Got a decent position, isolated away from the rest of the pack, and they're gonna opt to continue to just keep wrapping around. They can recognize that there's teams a little bit more distracted, but Keto and Hydro might be exactly who they're after. Sureform Repair is applying a decent amount of pressure into the box. That's a sandwich dream right now. That's Sky and Scroll are looking to take a bite out of, but everywhere else, everyone else is always looking, trying to see who they can pick apart along the way.
There's a lot of duos that didn't struggle for Surge in game 1, 2, and now they're struggling here. Look at Contri Ju too, still in the storm. A lot of players now forced to rotate in a little late. But we have players like Cammy, who's actually lost Hari just leading into this endgame. Akira Karama as well gonna go down. So much pressure put onto the whole lobby with this Storm Surge now active. Cammy's getting tags, but it's just not enough.
No, and this is just so unfortunate given where Cammy had just placed in the last lobby. But it is just such a journey right now. Cammy still holding on. One shot could be the difference maker here, though, and Cammy, he'll look to take it. It's just not going to be enough, though. A great response, just all too ready with the trigger finger. Shut that dream down. Cammy didn't have many other options there, though. Takata, I wouldn't really look too deeply into it. Focus and Thomas, on the other hand, though, they're looking to definitely have a much better placement, just barely sliding into 25th in the last lobby. Chino, Pablo also working their way up. These little bits of elevation. Now they'll have the chance to look back, and they're going to need more Surge. They'd also like to have a conversion. A couple of eliminations, because their material count, too, a little bit lower than they would like it to be at this point.
Chaos now unfolding. Malapuka's gone down. You can see how many players are struggling to get damage. Vico left alone. He has the experience in these stacked lobbies. He knows how to play them. But despite that, you can still see the difficulty as he's going to continue to overdrive his way in. We'll see what Scroll is up to in the meantime. Looking incredibly healthy. Consistency is the name of this team.
If they've got gold pistols in their clutches, that is just a daunting sight for the rest of the lobby, because you know Sky and Scroll are always going to be in a prime position, not even just for the zones, but to also take advantage of teams that are struggling to just try and break into the edge of zone. Vico, unfortunately, looking to be one of their next victims if he's not careful. 103 below on the surge threshold. He's gonna have to get active. He's got to do it right now. Doesn't take the shot at Nebs. Was just trying to get into the zone. Trying to make sure, but he's having to use all of his heals, all of his shield, just to try and leave himself in a somewhat healthy position. Fortunately, Surge will turn off for him. The lobby has thinned itself out down to that 40 player count, but looking back in at Sky and Scroll's successes, and they are just picking up everything that they could possibly desire. Great refreshes along the
Up
way.
in the clouds, though, check it out. Giannis cheated. Looking strong. Issue is, this is one of the initial moving zones. We saw how chaotic it got in the last match. How many teams wanted a piece of height. As Moneymaker gets dropped down. In terms of materials, Pizza's loot. They're looking quite healthy for the meantime, but we'll see how long they can last.
This is cheating Giannis's backyard, though, Takada. We got this south pulling zone over by New Sanctuary, and done a great job trying to apply some pressure. These lower layers, Panzer just working his way through, but too many teams just stuck underneath with him. Pablo, Chino, they're gonna be able to take Panzer out. Really steal that body loot, too. Doesn't even really seem like Pablo and Chino, they don't want to stick around for that much longer, though. They've got to make it into zone, and they do. But they know there's still a lot of ground to try and cover here. Frontside position gonna help them out. But anytime you drop one of those Flowberry Mist Grenades, you are bound to draw the attention of high ground. So this is really up to Cheatin and Giannis now to continue applying steady pressure, try and prevent some of these teams from challenging them. Thomas, Focus also lurking their way through, just waiting for a pre-edit setup.
Sky has gone down, though. Scroll is left alone. We know what both of these players are capable of playing as solos, so Scroll with already 4 eliminations is going to be hungry for more. Pablo as well, showing that he has that IGL fragging capability with already 5 eliminations, but Yan is cheating. They are still holding strong up top.
Doing a great job, that is, until Focus and Thomas decide to play spoiler alert. Drive by from overhead off the Flowberry Mist and overdrive grenades, and Cheat and Giannis, they'll be forced to drop. Thomas and Focus, though, they're gonna need a refresh. They don't have a whole lot of materials, but the damage has been done. They got exactly what they were after. The eagle-eye view, Chino and Pablo underneath, though, ultimate low, still managing to stick towards this front side of zone. They found a couple of eliminations along the way. 8 in total is just wicked scenes right now, and they're not the only ones getting active. Howley and Lucia also have 9.
Yeah, Elim Central right now. Chino getting cracked, though. He's got to be careful. Howley gonna pop some minis. Thomas HD looking like this might be his season, but Howley goes down. Lusha forced to go into the storm, and now with just a sliver of HP, Focus is gonna drop down and start getting a bit of action.
And this is just aim trainer right now for Focus and Thomas HD. They are just picking the lobby off one by one here. Sai is not going to be able to withstand the pressure any longer. Scary also trying to do his best to avoid drawing any further attention to himself. Every placement counts at this stage. Pablo, Chino, the HP advantage very clearly in Thomas's favor, but he doesn't have any build. This could be 180 if they're not careful. You can see a little bit of reservation in their play. Pablo doesn't have builds either. Does Chino? We are looking at seeing who can just find the first shot here. And it's going to be Focus striking down Pablo Wingu. Thomas HD with the finish. A 2-for-0 exchange here, and that is everything for Thomas and Focus to bring this second game home.
Is this going to be the season? Is this the time? We've been waiting for it for so long. Can Thomas HD finally win a major? Frankie Levin Mini, what are we thinking?
It is game 2. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but at the same time, how good is it to see Thomas and Focus get a victory royale, Levin?
Oh, it's amazing. It is amazing. And that right there, Mini, is a textbook game for them. I think when you look at how things shaped up in the game and in the lobby, as far as the zone was concerned, it was set up for them to do what they've been doing quite a bit. It's a layup, it's easy, it's straightforward, it's something they've done many times before. They were able to play in the Storm quite a bit early on. They rotated in towards the Boulevard area when the time was right. And again, you're able to just spend a lot of that mid game avoiding all of the troubles that the rest of the lobby has to experience, and it puts them in that end game in a situation where then it's just about delivering, right? When you give Focus and Thomas HD gold pumps and all the loot in the world, what are they gonna do? They're gonna win your games.
Yeah, they did. I mean, it's one of those. They had height. They had a really good position on height as well. And I think that what you just mentioned right there was really key for that, because they had the resource, they had those materials. They still had 3 pizzas on Thomas, I think it was, when he went up on height. And I think it kind of like alleviates a lot of the problems that they've been having. A lot of their problems have been a little bit of maybe slight just solo plays and having to clutch up, and maybe a little bit of disconnection between them. But when you're playing height, it's very easy to stay together as a duo and just focus on the same goal. And you're always looking down, aren't you, when you're on height? So it's very, very a lot more simple, I suppose you could say, to retain that duo chemistry that they have been lacking this season. But this game is really, really nice for them. They took height again at a really good time, as I mentioned right there. They still had a good amount of resources in terms of heals, and even the way that they closed out the game as well. A lot of teams would have been a little bit more nervous, maybe stayed up on height, maybe not gone down. But I really like the confidence from, I think it was Focus initially, just to drop down, take down one of the players down on low ground, because of course they didn't have anything to sustain themselves up on height right here. So really nice plays, and shows the confidence that this team have. It's just about whether they can continue that throughout the rest of the games.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a team who, again, their fans are going to be happy. Thomas, I think, is very excited about the prospect of this being finally the one, you know, the FNCS he's able to deliver on. And again, if they can keep playing like that, there's no reason why it won't be.
Consistency means qualification for the Major One Summit in Düsseldorf. We'll be talking about who's been putting up the big performances after the break.
Watch me arrive.
I think that Thomas and Focus have been seeing what the community has been saying about them, and they're like, no more second places. We're going to take the second victory royale of the FNCS Europe Major 1 Finals, and we're going to keep going. The only way is literally up from here, because they did look magnificent on the high ground, but it's fantastically contested so far, as it always is when the best duos are competing against each other. And one of the duos that we're going to be talking a lot about this weekend is obviously Sky and Scroll. And Sky, he's always got his teammate Scroll to rely on, Levin, because I feel like Scroll is probably going to make it as a clutch to at least to every single endgame we see here this weekend.
Yeah, look, both of them have it in them. And so, again, I highlight that at the start because I think it's a very underrated part of what makes these guys successful, and it doesn't sort of maybe get highlighted as much because we're always talking about how in sync they are. But in this game, you know, when they did show us these moments, I remember the casters got very excited about that elimination right there, right? Because it was just a great showcase of what happens when both of these guys, you know, sort of come knocking at your door at the same time. Sky goes down and Scroll's able to sort of get a couple more points out of the game, and ultimately, you know, you can't really ask for anything more, Minnie.
Yeah, this is smart as well. They were playing in the Storm, I think it was maybe slightly before this, with their pizzas, just to try and ride out a few of those placement points. They actually spent so long in the Storm, and I think ultimately that's where Sky went down. Good effort from Scroll, though, to try and stay alive in that game. Nicely done from them. Just keep them in that top 2 position. They're looking really, really good right there. Not quite as good of a game, of course, as we saw from them have in their very first game. It wasn't an amazing Scroll clutch, but they have it in them. A little bit of a blip right there. What was that? A 10th place with 4 limbs, so not quite their ideal endgame. I think they just couldn't pick up a lot of those refreshes in those endgames. You saw it right there. They picking up eliminations, but they were so high up and there was no chance they could get those materials. So maybe that's why they went and played the Storm there, but they're still in a really nice position.
And it's a great position for Shark and Teeny, given that we didn't see much of them in the end game. I guess Shark clutching so far in game number 1 has set them ahead of a lot of their competitors, Mini Miner.
Yeah, it's a really good start for Shark and Teeny, of course, with that first game. They had a really nice start with that 4th place. This game, not quite as good, and this was obviously maybe a sign of things maybe to look out for this duo. This is a lot of people's concerns, and I know it was one of my concerns as well, as how are they going to make it out of their drop spot? In what shape were they going to make it out of their drop spot? And even though they're still 5th on the leaderboard, that wasn't a great performance for them. 27th with 5 eliminations. So even though the eliminations are high, the placements are not quite there. So that inconsistency is definitely not surprising to me.
But we're seeing consistency, guys, from Pablo and Chino. They've gone up a whopping 8 places to pole position after that performance. 2 endgames now back to back, where we've both seen them putting up the numbers, even more numbers in that game, Levin.
Yes, and I am very, very impressed by these guys. This actually here is sort of the game-winning sort of moment for them, or not winning because they didn't win, but a key game moment for these guys, right? Because what happens is you see they're on low ground, Zone pulls back, and it actually left them in a really bad situation, right? It pulled back against going up the hill, and they're in a position where they're on low ground, they're stuck underneath every team, and they go back out into the Storm, do an up and over rotation, and that leaves them up there. And they didn't have much mats at that point in the game they need to work with, but the key thing for this duo, and this will be key for a lot of the top teams, but even when you're not in a good situation, if you can just keep yourselves long enough in the game, when you're Pablo and Chino, you're gonna find a refresh, right? Make the rotation that keeps you in the game as long as possible. And this is what I talked about in game 1, right? Game 1, we saw them play for height, and I asked the question, is this going to be the strategy they take moving forward? Are they going to keep being a height team, or are they going to actually make use of their talents on the mid and low ground, where if you just keep yourselves in the game long enough, you know these two will find a refresh that will carry them into a top 5 situation? And that's exactly what they did here in game 2.
Yeah, and I think that's
really,
going to bring them so much more confidence as well. I mean, we spoke so much about them at the beginning of the day, not having the greatest performances leading into the major finals. They've had glimpses of it, they've had moments, but they haven't had consistency. So now for them to have such a great start and to have all that firepower beside you, even when things don't go so well, they've got to be bringing with confidence right now.
And they are our reigning champions in terms of FNCS majors, guys, given that they did win way back in August. It feels like centuries ago now with Brodoxy. There must be something about being in a finals lobby that really boosts their confidence. I wonder if we can see the leaderboard actually one more time, because I'm just really curious to know where our other big duos are standing at the moment. Vico Malabuka, for example, that wasn't the best game for them last time round, so I'd love to see where they are on the leaderboard. If not, we'll catch up with them in a bit. I'm wondering with these guys if consistency is going to be an issue from game to game, Mini Miner.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I'm just looking at the leaderboard right now on the monitor here. 15th with 22nd they got in that last game. So again, just going down in that early stages of the end game. We saw some good things from them, right? In that very first game, we saw some exciting moments, but that's when it pays off. When it doesn't pay off, Levin, that's maybe what we're likely to see, some of those sort of mid-game eliminations.
Still early doors. Still early.
Yeah.
I'm not panicking yet. Still early.
Okay, bit of favoritism, bit of bias towards Vika, maybe.
It's not biased. It's just still too early, man. We've still got so many games left.
Fine, not panicking on his behalf, but I will. So let's head to our third game of today. 4 more games to go with Taco and Takata.
With Lobby 3 just around the corner for game day number 1, Takata, there is still ample opportunity for any kind of shortcomings that duos have experienced in these first 2 games to sort of be course corrected in our next 4 matches.
Yeah, we've had a lot of mix-ups, a lot of teams that are starting off a bit rough. I'm thinking mainly of Swizzy and Pixie, but on the contrary, we have duos like Chino and Pablo that back in trios, they were actually champions of Major 3, so now coming in as reigning champions. Chino, Pablo playing as a duo, doing incredibly well. That last match was insane how many elims they were able to get and somehow clutch up that placement despite the tough zone pull. The good news is the battle bus is ready, so let's head on to the third match of the day.
It's always so sick to see when that dominoes moment takes over, though, right? Chino, Pablo, if they get one, they just start converting them into so many after the fact. They really found a nice flow state in that end game of lobby number 2, and that sort of momentum can really build throughout the course of a day. So at our halfway point, technically speaking, for game day number 1, the main takeaway that I've got so far, Takata, is that you can never expect any sort of guarantees. If you think that you're going to be contested, if you think you're not going to be contested, the lobbies are constantly shifting. And for no Aurelian reason, they're hoping to make it 3-0 sweep right now. Xtedi adapted, be able to escape momentarily. They've opted to just go for the deeper drop. They don't actually want to challenge Reason and Noah at the gas station. But that might mean Tilio, a little bit of a wandering eye here, trying to gauge what's actually taking place and whether or not he could look to try and interrupt it.
What I was alluding to earlier, Swizzy Pixie hasn't quite gone their way, but it looks like there's no quick aggression. Sharktini, they've been the ones dominating Wonky. It hasn't been clean sweeps of Sharktini eliminating both Huddy and Fishy. It's been more either they do a lot of tags or maybe they elim one of them and then they end up rotating out, and Darm Demish just kind of get a little free prize on the side.
I'm also not too pressed about Teeny and Shark. I know we didn't get to actually witness too much of what was taking place with them in that last lobby, but Teeny, we know what you are, okay, buddy. We saw the clips. The production might not have, caught you in 4K, but better not see any more of that user error with the wonky wheel today. Too strong of a team. Be going outside like that. Keto, Hyjo are also being another one of, I think, leading contenders. Some of the action over by Dark Dominion. Gonzo and Truly just waiting with the trap, though. Swizzy not going to be taken out just yet, but it has left Swizzy and Pixie in a dire situation here. Now looking to try and see if they can bite back, and it is a 1-for-1 so far, but now Keto, Hyjo, the door's been swung wide open for them to just play cleanup crew. Truly trying to see if he can escape with his life, but Keto, Hyjo, they don't want to let this opportunity go. 4 points on an elimination, but he will escape into the tunnels.
What? Dark Dominion was supposed to be uncontested, Taco. Why is there 5 duos here? Why is the whole lobby?
This happens every time, Takata. Every single time. I think we saw maybe one Div Cup finals where Swizzy Pixie weren't surprise contested. This mid-map position just draws too much aggression. I think that's part of the reason why it could be difficult to kind of get a nice rhythm build up, but Nathan, Nebs, Humble Hills, they're gonna have to try and defend their opening points here. Darm Demish just continuing to go on tour around the map today.
Shout out Nathan Nebs, by the way, in the prior season. all they were getting were top 20s. And then right when this season started, 8th, 9th in the Div Cup. Now here in the major finals, top 3 on the leaderboard. Looking incredibly strong as they also have the upper hand in this fight.
This is so awkward right now, though, for Darm and Demish. It's going to be down exclusively to Darm, I feel like, to try and turn this one around. Demish incredibly low and separated from his duo, but manages to work his way back together. So the Flowberry Mist Grenade will have some value, but Nathan and Ebs, they got a lot of surge out of that. I don't think that they ate as many big shots as what they were delivering. Now it seems like it's getting a little bit more scrappy, but Shark Teeny looking to just pick up right where they left off over by Wonky Land, northern side. It seems like Huddy and Fishy were maybe trying to have it be a little bit more of a clean split here by opting more towards the north side of this POI, but Shark and Teeny, they've been very vocal here, Takata. They are refusing to budge. They don't want to allow Huddy and Fishy the opportunity to even make it to the Major One Summit land, much less make it into a strong placement finish for Game 3.
Now you know the pressure is going to be on for Huddy and Fishy. They are not going to want to split this drop. Well, Shark and Teeny are not going to want to, as they're going to do everything they can, like you mentioned, Taco, to not have them get top 20 here. Now, despite Shark Teeny not having the greatest match for Game 2 with the 27th, they still held up in terms of eliminations. Issue is, it's 12 matches to be played out today, so it is all about that consistency once we get to the second day, but almost halfway through day 1 here, and just going to be some more shots back and forth.
Huddy and Fishy are landlocked right now, though, inside that north building over by Wonky Land. Wouldn't be surprised to see further regression still, though. Squibbly continuing to build in action here. Reason and Noah looking to get fraggy. Done a great job at least defending the opening contention by the gas station, but now clearing out the POI. That's a whole nother can of worms they've yet to open here in Game 3. Xteri adapted, really making them work for it too. Making good use some of the fish that are already available to build up some of their shields here. Reason wants to go for the opening shot, but adapted, just causing a little bit of a slow burn.
The issue is, despite no reason having clean sweeps in the first 2 matches, and I mean, they haven't won yet in Game 3, but they're clearly the aggressors here. They still just haven't been making it far enough in the end game. I mean, you saw they're 25th on the leaderboard. They went down 28th, 11th in the last one, so quite good, but only 1 elimination. So despite the early games, they're gonna have to figure something out for the late.
It's largely just because even when they get the clean sweep over at Squibbly, there's always another team or two that decides to roll on over. Teeny, Shark, though, they want to put an end to this conversation. Huddy going to be the first to fall, but Shark has been taken out with him. That's going to be elimination for elimination now. Teeny, though, let's see if he can clutch up. One of the best controller players on EU, but it seems like he'd rather just opt for the reboot play. Doesn't want to keep trying to force this fight. After that early departure in the last lobby, finishing 27th place, you can just tell that Teeny sort of recognizes the fact this game's going to be a lot easier if he's got Shark with him, and beating Fishy to the reboot ban is only going to make that so much easier to carry on later.
Yeah, you know Fishy's going to be happy with the disengage. The thing is, how long is Shark and Teeny going to pursue it now? Will they go right back into the action, or will they try and play it a little slower here?
Look back into where that went south here.
Oh.
That honestly, Fishy, you got it. That was a really nice turn away, but well played. Forced the stalemate.
I would have
now
liked to
it's
see
what
Fishy
comes
even
next.
play more aggro there. I mean, I think he had the HP shield advantage, but Teeny did not let down. We can actually see now it's going to be Twek and Midro who are applying the pressure after the reboot.
And this comes as no surprise. First couple of lobbies, Twek and Midro had their plans kind of thrown all over the place, being contested by Darm and Deemish early on. So now they're trying to play a little bit of make up for lost time. Toy Box Ducks, though, seemingly a little bit more in favor of Teeny and Shark right now, but if they can find these 2 eliminations, that would be a huge conversion for Shark and Teeny. It would definitely set them up nicely for an end game kind of run, but Dweck and Midra, they need points. They also obviously wanted some Surge. Not too sold, though, that they were able to get everything that they were after.
Going back over to Focus and Thomas HD now. This is an interesting one. There's a lot of hype going into this major for Focus and Thomas. One of the best POIs on Contested. They're getting the loot every game. They're the type of team that will have a good strategy. But we just didn't really see a lot of them in heats. They won game 1. We didn't have the chance to see a lot of them in heats. And in Div Cups, they were playing well, but not well enough to be a #1, maybe even #2 duo. But now predictions going into this, that's where a lot of people are placing them. And I mean, they're not disappointing. They did have a bit of a rough start, though, at the 25th. So I'm a little concerned regarding consistency after the 12 matches. But I mean, we're just getting started. They're on con. If nothing changes up, consistency shouldn't be a problem.
I think the main thing for Thomas and Focus, though, is that we saw them consistently in those Div Cup finals. We saw them consistently in performance evaluation finals. And more often than not, they were still able to find strong finishes. I mean, we know that they've won multiple lobbies of those eval finals. We know that they even won a Div Cup final. So right now, they're looking to try and just win this battle against Prex and Glubshy. They've already got one piece of the pie. Looking to see if they could take another slice here with Glubshy. That's just 4 more elimination points. Something that Thomas and Focus are never going to scoff at. And they've got Glubshy on the run here. 2 different angles of approach, though. Focus just cleans it right up. That's going to be 8. And even though lobby #1 didn't go their way, that win in the last game, it did jump them up on the leaderboard to 4th place heading into this matchup. So I'll look back now into where things went right for Focus. Just a great collapse out of these 2. Excellent job guarding those vending machines, too.
I mean, there's a reason Thomas is dropping the mythic shotgun to Focus. My only issue was from the Div Cups. There was some kind of chemistry, synergy issues, but they have clearly been putting in the work.
Some zones that were causing a lot of problems, and it wasn't just for them, Takada. It's one thing. When you have to be a track star in a lobby, and when you have to be a track star for multiple games of a lobby, it's bound to cause problems for anyone. Also, they did get surprise contested in at least 2 of those Div Cup finals, if I'm calling correctly. So I think that they have proven their worth, though, and that they are very much competent contenders, because a lot of people, even though they might be sorting Thomas more so for that 2nd place of this weekend's finals, it's the fact that they still got him in the top 2.
Yeah. The issue I'm having was actually in the end game is where I was seeing those kind of flaws. But in the heats, that's why I wanted to see a bit more of the performance in the recent set lobby heats. But they just won too quickly. And now they're winning as well in the major finals. But Noah and Reason, this might be exactly what they needed to actually solidify themselves a good loadout and setup going into the end game. They've been going down kind of in the mid section of the match despite winning the early game. But now with a good amount of damage and loot, this could be the match that they were looking for.
2-tick zone, though. It's going to be a good Reason for Hustle. Got to look back, though, into where things went right there for Reason. Nice drop in. XZ was not expecting company that quickly. Granted, they still got to actually make their way into the next zone. And even with those refreshes and the surge help there, Takada, it was obvious that Reason and Noah were definitely still in a little bit of a pinch. Other teams kind of looking in on where they were at and all that commotion had taken place.
Issue with having so many contested duos in the area. Yannis doing a great job, though, with a quick pickup. Our current leaders in terms of the lobby, Pablo Chino, how are they looking? 109 above. Look at the amount of teams that are rotating in here. This is going to get dangerous quickly, as Pablo's already been cracked.
They thought they were going to get the chance to pounce right there. Instead, forced to come to yet another halt, and that definitely puts a sour mood on their Surge. 36 above right now, but they are above. It's just they know now they're going to have to go for a little bit more of a forced engagement as opposed to being able to kind of pick which sort of fight that they wanted to enter into. iDrop and Medius lurking now. Mountain, Chap, Flixie building in middle. It's the quietest builds, even with the Surge picking away at them, but Chap is just too aware. Immediately catches oversight. Marion is going to be forced to send it onto height. They're working against the clock right now. iDrop even forced to drop his pizza early, but Flixie, Chap, you can see how much Surge they have. They know that this duo, they've got to be desperate, given that they are just continuously trying to force this fight. But iDrop and Medius, again, they're so low on their Surge. They have to get a conversion here, and it just keeps getting ticked further and further away from their direction. iDrop now getting ran down by Chap and Flixie, defending their original position here. And iDrop, one more tick. He's waiting for Storm to close out his game. And yeah, that Surge, it was just too problematic to deal with.
This is huge for Chap and Flixie, not only because they just got a nice refresh and have over 1,000 Surge, but the first match, Zone was close to Sanctuary, literally other corner of the map. And now finally, they've got a very solid North Zone pull. They've got the loot. Everything is going their way in this match, so I'm hoping to see a big one.
Getting a little bit of insight now into where some teams are able to pick up some good eliminations. Scary and Saya is still looking to see what else they can gather. They know there's been a little bit of a rumble taking place on the mountain face. Unix and Wolvex trying to go toe-to-toe. Azad and Afrozi, but they won't be able to hold that one out still. Afrozi and Azad just getting beamed right now by Scary and Ciaz. And they're not the only ones. Look at all the shots coming in for the rest of the lobby. That was a quick drive-by though. And Ciaz will be forced to drop box back up. They are under a lot of pressure though with the Surge takes.
See Sky and Scroll knock on Chap Flixie's door for Scary. Ciaz though, 25 below, just a couple shots needed to connect, and they aren't going to successfully do that. Issue is all the other players are doing the exact same thing. They're going to have to keep their lead here as Zone pulls further and further away from that snowy mountain.
And when you see teams that are so limited with their mobility options, and we are pulling towards the northern section of the map with so many elevation shifts, have to begin to wonder how they're actually going to fare. The lobby continues to develop here. Sky, Scroll, very familiar sights for these two right now. Just looking back, prime position, taking advantage of teams that were a little bit later to the punch because they were opting to try and find their Surge elsewhere on the edge of Zone. Focus though, tough position here as a solo. Now with so many healthy teams kind of surrounding him, he's gonna really have to dig deep here to find a solid placement, because you don't want to lose hold of being inside that top 5, and that's exactly what he needed. Yarko going to be picked off, but he can't make it to the body loot just yet. Still, it's just buying time with the Surge damage.
Better to play it safe than sorry. I got open and Focus can clutch it up. Yapko Panzer though, incredible zone pull. They're gonna have a bunch of opportunity here. Tag up some players. As now the rotate comes through. Big elevation change for a lot of teams here, but Panzer, Yapko are going to capitalize exactly on that.
They might be able to even protect this launch pad to a certain extent. They could use it to try and stay out of sight, out of mind for the rest of the lobby. But Shark, Teeny, they got aggressive early on, and they are keeping it rolling in stride. Just a couple of really nice eliminations there, punishing teams that are looking to try and work their way into zone. Now everyone's going to start trying to send it, though, towards that front side. Yapko Panzer, they're going to have to try and defend their position. Looking back, trying to set up. Fully aware of the fact they've got other teams on this same layer. So they're going to have to either go up or down, unless they're able to convert some eliminations here. But Sky, Scroll, same intentions.
Ooh.
Just trying to be a little bit more concealed here with the pullback. That's going to put them now in that front side position of zone.
I'm liking what I'm seeing, though. From 4th place to kick things off, all the way down to 27th in the most recent match. Now, Shark and Teeny up above, looking to see if they can close it with a big match. They've already got a very good amount of eliminations, but they've got to be careful right when they're splitting loot. The retake from Chap and Flixie comes through, but Flixie is going to fall all the way down alongside Chap, but it looks like they might have got ahead of zone. And it looks like Teeny's down as well. This is going to be tough for Shark as he's pushed into a solo situation.
Those opening shots from Chap and Flixie were all they needed. Shark and Teeny just sent tumbling down from height. Shark now as a solo. He's going to need Siphon, but he won't be able to get it. Just brought down, punished by Chap and Flixie. That was a great time to strike on height. Malabuka Vika, though, they might look to take a stab at it, but first, they're going to need to get some form of elimination refresh here. Only one build now for Malabuka. Vico, hip to hip. They've got to stay as close to each other as they can to try and pull things off, but it's been disastrous. Chap, Flixie, they're on ultimate low. We just saw them on hype because what do you know? Gammy and Hottie have managed to work their way up to the high ground. Skyjump, though, just going to overshoot it, and that's going to leave Momsy to just stay based inside of that secondary height technically, but Gammy, Hottie, they're wasting no time. They're tarping things out. Malabuka, Vico, they're just trying to contend with all these players stuck in the lower layers with them. Sky, Scroll, probably some of the healthier ones from the bunch, but still, not a lot of materials to work with. All of these shifting elevation points have just caused everybody to burn through their materials. Cammy.
I think he slipped, goes down to fall. Skyjump now in the clouds. Sky down below as well picks up a knock. Vico, Malabuka now are completely out of the game. Skyjump as a solo, as Scroll and Sky without any materials are crumbling as well. More and more solos are forced to clutch this out, but the big duo that I have my eyes on, it's Chap and Flixie.
Chap Flixie have still managed to make it work. The revive was not for naught because Scroll still stuck deep in the ultimate low ground, trying to pray that he can find a third-party intervention for these teams. They're kind of working their way through so many of these pre-existing builds, but when you are one of the only duos left in the lobby, this is the perfect time to get a conversion here. But Azat, he's going to be able to get that elimination onto Scroll, now trying to contend with Chap and Flixie. They are doing a great job pushing these teams back. They've got frontside control. They know that another player is just tarping over ahead of them. Telio's going to opt to try and drop here. Azat has managed to work his way up, but he's got to keep his eyes on a swivel because Skyjump overhead. Flixie still managing to pull through, though. It's just a duo versus a sea of solos here at the end of the day. Takata and Chat Flixie, the moment they get a north pulling zone, they bring home the win.
Capitalized on it instantly. Flixie showing how badly he wants to represent his own country in Germany, Dusseldorf, later this year. Let's see if they can continue the pace. We're heading back to our analysts.
Thank you so much. They needed a solid game, and I'm guessing they'll be delighted with that victory royale because Chap and Flixie were 34th on the leaderboard, page 4, before we went into that game. And it was similar to Cringe Volker's win in game number 1, Mini Minor, them versus a load of solos.
Yeah, it was. I think they were the last duo there. There was 5 players alive. They were in a top 4 situation. Really nicely played from those guys. And actually, at the end, I thought they played that low ground really, really well. Claimed a lot of the space, editing players down. It looked very, very sort of typical as you'd expect for a low ground team. So maybe this is something to expect from these guys moving forward. But again, like Taco said, North Pulling Zone, really favorable for them, and they made the most of it.
What can you say? I think these guys, in that situation, you just expect them to deliver, right? In that position, you just have to smash it home, and you can't let games like that go. You're right, Mini. The execution on it was great. I think the reality for this team is that they've kind of gone under the radar for a lot of people. because again, it's just not been the best of seasons for them. I think it's not been as flashy. The performances in general haven't been as amazing, but you can't doubt the talent here, right? Flixie and Chap have both shown in many duo finals over the years that they are two of the better players in the region. And in situations like this, Mini, where again, they're just on low ground and you just have solos dropping down, it's barbecue chicken, man. It's easy for them, right? They're not gonna have an easier situation than that. We'll give him props for that final shot there. Nice little jump shot there from Flixie. So again, a good game, but we need to see more of that from these two, right? I wouldn't, you know, get too excited about them right now. We want to see them do that when zones aren't as favorable, maybe.
Well, we'll see what kind of zone they get after the break.
Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive.
Two teammates have his back. There's Nash. Gets the drop on Marius. Stays alive. They're targeting up Vanya. Dreaming on.
Welcome back. If you didn't know, we're going to Dusseldorf in May, and the top 20 duos from EU make it. So Chap and Flixie, obviously Flixie being from Germany, want to be one of those duos, which is why they got themselves a victory royale before the break, Mini Miner. Right, everyone in the audience is now caught up. So let's talk about some of the other duos, because Sky and Scroll, we're going to be talking about them after every single endgame with the consistent way that these guys are playing. Yes, Scroll ended up as a solo yet again, but Sky was with him for the long haul, Mini Miner.
Yeah, there's a little bit more smooth from them, a little bit more what we expect. In that last game, they were playing Storm. They couldn't get refreshes. They had to sort of survive a little bit uncharacteristically low on the materials and, of course, on the heals. But this one, Lemon, was a lot more characteristic for them, using, actually, the roller coaster to make an elimination right there, which is really nice, really crafty from them. But, again, really, really nice from these guys. Low ground plays, finding eliminations, staying hip to hip, a little Scroll solo clutch as well to get an extra placement point as well. Really nicely done from them.
Yeah, and taking out their competitors on the leaderboard in their game, right? You saw them take Chino down, and now they move into first place.
Yes, this is where we're expecting to see them. And I'm so sorry for interrupting you there, Levin, but I got very excited to see where Focus and Thomas are because I was a little bit concerned after that game. We didn't see much of them. I was thinking they were going to be further down the standings, but they are in 4th right now. So, Levin, all is not lost, clearly.
No, not at all. And I think the key thing for these guys is when they make it to these end games, they're going to have to continue to frag out. Because what we're already seeing from Sky and Scroll very early on in first place is that they are the consistent team, right? Their average placement so far today is going to be 6. I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to keep a single digit, average placement all throughout the weekend, right? And so if you are Focus and Thomas, how do you beat that? How do you top that? Especially where you might not be as consistent. You got to find the LMs, Minnie.
Yeah, you got to find those limbs. They got 6 of them in that last game. Of course, they can't find those placements. And we saw it in that previous game as well, managing to win up there on height. If they make it to those latter stages, they can pop off. It's just a matter of getting there. Again, a little bit of a difficult zone for them, more pulling towards the north, so not quite as favorable. But the talent that they both have, you expect them to pop off an endgame. It's just getting there.
Let's take a look at the leaderboard because Shark and Teeny, that was a zone in their favour, given that it was ending on wonky land. However, early game fights off spawn did see Teeny have to reboot Shark 11, but it's great to see them in 3rd place because they came back as if nothing had ever happened.
Yeah, look, it's a roller coaster of a game for them, right? And I know they obviously land wonky land, and so they're used to some rides. But ultimately, this game is a weird one because it turned on its head, right? They started off rough, they go down, they're able to recover it really well, and you see moments like this where you're thinking, all right, they had a rocky start to the game, but they're right back in it. It's Shark and Teeny time, baby. And then this happens, and then you're like, oh, this might not be the game for them. And as good as Shark is, he's only able to do so much in this end game. And so you have a game where, yeah, we're looking at it ends in wonky. You're thinking, even with the rough start they had to the game, they're still in a position to deliver, and they don't quite squeeze enough points out of it, at least for a team of their level.
Missed opportunity. That's all I can think of right there. When you go down on spawn, you lose all that time. You have to scramble. You have to try and recover, go down in the end game, and the zone is at your drop spot. It is the worst feeling for them right now. Hopefully they can bounce back, though, and find a little bit more success off spawn, because ultimately that's what's causing them all the problems right now. We saw it when they get to end game. They're pretty good. They're getting those frags. They're staying consistent right there. Not quite sure what the play was with the overdrive grenade. Kind of like try to go down, try to not send himself too far. Maybe a bit of a misplay there in hindsight, but hopefully they can now bounce back.
You mentioned misplays, Mini Miner, and I know that you love a bit of full damage, and I can't believe we're doing this, but we're going to do it because Cammy and Harry were looking great in the end game, maybe feeling a bit of the pressure, especially that Chap and Flixie were piling on, and we lost Cammy in a rather unfortunate way, Mini Miner.
Yeah, I think I want to just clarify here. I don't love seeing players go down to full damage, but I love the fact that it can happen to them, right? It makes them feel human. It makes me feel better about myself because, yeah, that happens. Unfortunately, that is what happens in Fortnite if you fall that distance. Really unfortunate for Cammy. Again, another one of those situations where they were set up for success. Another missed opportunity for one of our teams here. Set up on height, now with Hari as well, in a much better position than we saw them in that first game. Less scrambly. Full damage. I mean, it's not something you'd expect from Cammy right there, but got a little bit unlucky.
I was expecting, Mini Miner, that you were going to pull off one of your GGs back to the lobby just then.
I think if I was the one that took him out, then maybe I would do that, but, maybe not yet.
So let's talk about this next game that's coming up. We're halfway through day 1. Obviously, there's 12 games across the entire weekend. Sky and Scroll, just the most consistent duo here, as we're expecting. But have there been any surprises so far for you, Levin?
I think Pablo and Chino looking as good as they did. I think there were quite a few people who I think doubted their ability to sort of be a threat and to be, consistent. And of course, we still have some games left, but I think we've seen in a variety of different zones them still be able to make it to these end games and showcase their ability. So if there is going to be one team pushing, Sky and Scroll to the end, it's good to see their Danish rivals being the ones there.
Mini Miner, very quickly.
I mean, I completely agree. Also surprised at Swizzy and Pixie. The amount of teams that are in there at Dark Dominion right now, I broke it down at the beginning of the day. It's likely to be happening, but not to this degree. I wasn't expecting it to be this much, so they're struggling a little bit more than I expected today.
I'd like to see them at the beginning of the game if we can. So let's head over, get ready for game 4 with Taco and Takata.
Thank you, Frankie. Yeah, it's very tough for Swizzy and Pixie. We've talked about it, Taco. I mean, it seems to be a POI that players like kind of joining the party uninvited, but you'd normally expect like maybe 1, 2. There was like 5 duos there going against Swizzy and Pixie. Like, are you kidding me? It looked like they were going to be on Con originally, but it's just not going that way.
At the moment that Truly and Gonzo started to play a little bit of disruption factor, that's what's really drawing so much more attention inwards onto that mid-map position, because everybody thinks, hey, if we can take control of tunnels, if we can take control of Dark Dominion, then we'll have ample opportunity to rotate elsewhere after the fact, and it's just caused so many issues for Swizzy and Pixie clearly here today. But it is only day 1, Takada, and we've got game 4 that's about to begin, so